Okay, thanks again for rejoining me on the show, TMI, as we lap up our conversation on the program this beautiful Monday morning. Okay, 50 years down the road, Biafra is just one issue that won't go away in a hurry, maybe in a long, long time to come. First, it was Masob, and then when the pressure was on that, there was a metamorphosis. Should I say a metamorphosis or a bifurcation, really? Because we now have IPOB, which for some is even more militant, drastic, and violent in its approach to the agitation for Biafra Republic. But my focus today is to look at the issues back then, today, and the future. But give us some history behind how it all started, the war itself, and
there
where we are
were
today.
immediate and remote causes
Okay.
to the declaration of Biafra in 1967. Before that, we were on regionalism, meaning that using the Westminster parliamentary system, Eastern region, Western region, etc. Colonel Ojukwu was the military governor for Eastern Nigeria, from Onitsha up to the Eastern region, Southeast, Rivers, etc. Then, that was immediately after independence. But lo and behold, there was a January 15, 1963 school. The literature available is subjective. The books, the narrators, you can decide whether they were objective or subjective. So many versions as it were. But the summary is that there were 5 main majors. Fejona, Mishogu, etc. But there was only one non-Igbo, Major Wale Adeboyega. So 5 majors reasoned together, there was corruption, nepotism. They claimed they wanted to stamp it out. They executed a coup. Regions, party leaders, national leaders, most other tribes were victims of that January 15, 1966 coup, except one tribe. Then after the execution of the coup, somebody from the same region became the leader of the country. So this one now agitated some other parts of Nigeria, like the Northern. Within 6 months, they have a revenge mission, in which pogrom, genocide started. And when the cup of iniquity was full, all the Easterners were being killed, their leader now decided to form a different country. He could name it Biafra, going by the name Bat of Biafra, the water of the Atlantic Ocean. So that is, and if Ojukwu, who has everything it takes, was a trained, regular, combatant officer, etc. And if you talk of school, the best of education you can think of, King's College, Lagos, Oxford University, went everywhere, was well trained. He fought the war 2.5 years. He had to go away, according to him, to go and look for peace. And the second in command surrendered. He did not succeed. So when I see other people coming up now that do not have what it takes, they don't have the educational qualification, they don't have the military training, MASOP, different movement, IPOB, trying to do what Ojukwu could not do, I laugh because now we're in. So today now, 50 years exactly, Monday, January 3 was when the war ended. It's a memento. It ought to be memorialized, very significant. Okay. When I looked at the list, Professor Anya O. Anya is the chairman of the Igbos in Lagos. Yeah. He summoned the symposium conference today. They are holding it in Lagos. When I looked at the names of the dramatic personnel that are giving papers there, Obasanjo, Patutomi, Wole Soyinka, etc., I did not see Gowon there. Gowon was an important dramatic personnel in that event. Apart from being a regular officer, he was head of state for 2 years. He fought the war, won the war, although he said no victory was found. And as if he were an illiterate, Gowon had all awarded degrees for Unipen, Ibadan, etc. He forsook them, went to University of Warwick in England, read for bachelor, master, PhD in political science. And when he came back, he became a visiting professor at the University of Jos. They are delivering lectures about civil war today in Lagos. they didn't invite Gowon. That was an aberration, because no Catholic can be more Catholic than people. I equally looked at the list of traditional rulers, Olu of Ife, Kano, Olu of Warri, Sultan of Sokoto. Oba of Benin is not there. Nigeria cannot be talking about its political history without Oba of Benin. So when I looked at what they are doing there today, it was in good faith, but the implementation is parochial. It's the same thing as the war, trying to say what caused the war, what did not cause the war. Most of the narrators are talking for their own personal point of view, but it seems that it is always better for a united country. No need for a group of people to be forming, resurrecting Biafra, what Ojukwu could not do.
Okay. Well, that's a very, very rich presentation, I must say. That's something you really can't buy from the market. In just 3 minutes or so, Sir Adams Aliyu has taken us down memory lane and brought us back to give us perspectives on the Biafra struggle. Well, I'd like to get your take, Pius.
Yes.
The issues that drove those who agitated then,
yes,
those who are still agitated now,
yes,
they're still prevalent.
Yes, let me tell you where we got it wrong, honestly. If you look at what happened in South Africa, where after the appetite, they set up Truth and Reconciliation Committee to heal the wound. We didn't do that. No Vitor, no vanquish. What does that mean? Nothing that was put in place to reconcile the rest part of the country with the East. And all the no Truth Reconciliation Committee, no Reconciliation Committee was set up, no opportunity to air this grievance, and if possible, pay compensation, and as well as put in place some of those things that were destroyed in the East. You see, these wounds have not been healed, and you can still see that these wounds are still resonating among the young population of the Biafrans. They still feel they are oppressed. They don't believe that they are part of the Nigerian project. You see, so they are aggrieved. We pray for leadership that will give them that sense of belonging. The Easterners appears to be alienated in this project called Nigeria, and I think that one way or the other there should be healing or a healing process put in place to put all these things. Otherwise, they will continue to agitate. They are aware that some of these agitations are not realizable. Not that they are not aware. It is a function of aggrieved minds, and they must express it one way or the other, and they are expressing it. And it's like you have a child that you are not listening to. He begin to rebel. He begin to show some level of stubbornness. You understand? And that is what is happening. The federal government must do the needful. They must accommodate them, and they must dialogue with them, and let's see what the issues are. And if there are need to pay compensation, if there are need to apologize as a nation, we can do that. That is how the healing process takes place. So we need to do that.
All right, Victor. Yeah, you want to give us some perspectives on Biafra, the journey so far, 50 years down the line.
I was opportune to read through it yesterday. You know, the head said 2-3 months time they're going to flag off fully, you know, and most countries in the world support it. So now I just can't imagine what will come about it 2-3 months time, you know. So I just can't say anything about that, because if US, you know, UK, war powers, France, are saying go ahead, behind you. Yeah. So I see what. So I just can't wait for that day, sir. Okay. You know.
All right, so Adams Aliyu, you're very rich in history with all of these. The agitators then gave a clear-cut reason why they were agitating, and these issues that dominated a national discourse then, are you concerned that they are still very prevalent in today's Nigeria?
Well, the Easterners, the Indigo, they say they are marginalized, that they are not carried along. As what they are saying. It's a very topical and sensitive issue. Now, taking Anambra as a case study, Anambra is a very unique state. Professor Chukwu Mekaike passed on, Zik Ezefe, many people, Rakoyele, Obieze Kwesile, they are all from that Anambra. So it's a very industrious, notable, educative. Now, politically, for instance, they have a party there, ABGA, which they all belong to. When it comes to council, senate, election, they hardly go to anyone. Now, when they are talking of marginalization, you form a party there for Anambra. With that party, for instance, you are hoping to win presidential election. People will go and queue up in Maiduguri and vote for ABGA. Or people will come to Udu. It's very rare. So when they are talking of marginalization, that is unrealistic. They should play the policies of inclusiveness. They should belong. They cannot be Protestants, separatists, opposition leaders throughout. The presidency and leadership is not awarded. If there are two main,
you must fight for it and win.
If there are two main groups that will fight for presidential election, assuming PDP and APC, there are two football teams. You don't go and call one unknown party, call him and give him the football association cup final, say come and take cup. You must be among the combatants. They took themselves, you belong to the main party. There is no way ABGA candidates can win in Maiduguri.
So they need to
be in.
Reach out.
So when they reach out, they are already part of the system. They cannot complain. But when you are individualistic, so this
right, let me get past.
I think the issues are beyond political issues. Honestly, economic issues are there as well. Social issues are there as well. Issues of lack of inclusiveness, as well as this issue of healing. Have we been able to manage the after effect of that civil war as a country, as a nation? We've not been able to manage it as well. We've not been able to dialogue and speak to these people and address this particular issue. So these are some of the things that we need to look at. When you talk about, there is no region in Nigeria that is not marginalized. So the issue of, I don't think it's the really issue of marginalization. The civil war, the wounds, the pain of that civil war is still there. It's still there.
All right, gentlemen, thank you for your time on TMI Monday, looking at a wide range of issues, beginning with Ametokun and then cascading into Biafra 50 years after. Also, big thanks to Pastor Lile.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. And Victor, thank you so much for the very, very useful insight that you brought into that conversation. Really appreciate it. And to you at home, thank you so much.